we have got a great guest to kick off our lovely broadcast day. Mr. Malcolm is with us. And
Hey,
Malcolm MacWatt, how are you,
yeah,
sir?
that's right. Yeah. Hey, well done for getting that right. That was good.
Well, good.
Most,
It
most people
shows I learned
pronounce it
something
wrong.
in technical college.
So well done.
But,
Well, welcome to the show, Malcolm.
yes.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming on at such short notice. Jiggy doesn't know this, but we got let down right at the sort of last minute, Jiggy. And for our listeners out there who don't know, we've actually very recently started a Twitter account. You can follow us at One International with an extra L. And so I thought what we'll do is we'll just have a quick look at the followers and see who we can invite. And I saw Malcolm's profile, saw he had some music out, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to drop this man a message. And he came straight back to me, and I literally had the whole day, written off to start messaging people and see if we could get some cover for the show. But good old Malcolm here emailed me straight back and got everything confirmed, and I literally had the day to myself. So thank you so much for coming on again, and we really appreciate you coming on. You've got some great music, obviously, that's come out this year.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you just talk to us a bit first about who you are, where you're from, and how you got into music?
Okay, well, I mean, I'm from the north of Scotland, pretty much the Highlands. My dad's Scots, my mum's a League of Nations. Going into music probably through my mum. She played the guitar when we were kids. I grew up in Africa. My dad was a tree planter, so he worked for a big sort of gold mining operation. He did the pit props and stuff like that, So we grew up without television, without radio, just my mum's record collection and her guitar, So I just kind of got into music. I've always been into it.
That sounds a great childhood. Whereabouts in Africa were you?
In Ghana and in the Cameroons, so West Africa. So it was brilliant.
A lot of gold fever out there, then, is there? I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably too young when we lived in Ghana, but when we lived in Cameroon, it was all about the chocolate and the coffee. So it was cool.
All about the chocolate. That's awesome. That is fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us here on International Live. And, of course, if you would like to join us on KJAGradio.com, if you come in late or you miss us, we're live over there at KJAGradio.com. We're also live on the stream today at JIGGYJGUAR.com. And 50-plus stations in America. And then we are also on the UK Fridays, 5 to 6, prime time, baby. Not like Deion Sanders.
Prime time, drive time.
Look at that on Leicester 107.5, the home of Dangerous Danny Davis. Not to be confused with the paid-off referee from the 1980s in the World Wrestling Federation. But Malcolm, you have got some amazing music. You have done all sorts of things. So what are some of your goals with this stuff? Is it basically women and money, or what?
It'll never happen. Never. It's like I think if I wanted that, I'd have stayed playing, hanging on to my electric guitars and trying to be the next Jimmy Page. I think sort of goals are just right now, just to keep making music. I think I've been really lucky in the sense that I've got I actually have an American label quite interested in publishing me at the moment. I seem to be doing better over there than I am doing here. So, which is great because I think as an Americana artist to have recognition in the US that's kind of like, that's good enough for me, So great.
I've obviously listened to both the tracks before we came on, and as soon as you heard both of them, it screams Americana, a little bit of country in one of the tracks as well, and I couldn't help but hear them. I thought this is perfect for us, Jiggy. We've not had any country artist, Americana artist on yet, and it's great
That's
that you're from
good.
Scotland, living in London,
Yeah.
doing this type of music. There can't be too many people around the UK doing this right
I
now.
mean, there's a little there's a little scene. It's small and compact. I think from my point of view, it's as much as I'm influenced by American roots music. I try I try hard not to not to try and put on American accents, and I try to do my own thing. Like, and I think maybe that side that I'm not afraid to I think maybe to sometimes let my Scottish accent come through. I think maybe that's maybe what the Americans seem to like, is rather than people trying to copy Americans. I think they maybe appreciate the fact that I'm a little bit different. I mean, right now I'm getting a lot of play, especially down the eastern seaboard. It's like I get a lot of play in Boston, right down to Georgia. I
Cool.
think because of maybe that Celtic connection that goes back to Ireland and Scotland, and so yeah, it's really cool. So
It's
Okay.
amazing.
You brought up Celtic, and that opened the door in my head. As my good friend Frank Catolo says, when the doors open in your head, don't shut them, just leave them closed. What is the deal with the United States and its obsession with Celtic music? We cover a lot of these theaters, these old-fashioned theaters that have been redesigned, and they bring in the Celtic women, or they bring in Celtic this or Celtic that, or you have Michael Flatley and Lord of the Dance. So you have all these things. Why are Americans obsessed with Celtic stuff and the music that you do and everything?
I think I mean I would say definitely the old world, well, with the new world, being America, was, I mean, it was the destination when so many Scots and Irish were sort of kicked out of their homelands, really, and forced to emigrate. And so one of the main places that they went was the States, and they started they started new lives there. So I suppose there's that. For a lot of Americans, they have a heritage that goes back to, it goes back across the Atlantic to to Europe, but I think definitely to to America, and to Ireland and to Scotland. And I think in terms of the music, I mean, I'm a big fan of country music, but at the same time, I don't try to be too American, because I feel that the roots of American country music are here anyway in the UK. So it's like, I think we've got I think in Britain we've got a claim, a sort of valid claim on country, to be able to play it. So I think that's why the Americans appreciate their certainly a part of their European history.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So, Danny, what do we have here as far as music? What's the
We should
first song that
have
we have here?
two tracks. We've got the Crofter and the Cherokee, and Raining Down in Nashville.
So tell us about the Crofter and the Cherokee. I guess we'll start there, because that sounds like a joke. A Crofter and a Cherokee going to a bar.
Right. Well, so the Crofters were in Scotland in the 18th century. The A lot of Highlanders were moved off their land they'd been on for generations, because it was more profitable to farm sheep, and so they were basically told, go. The landowners just said get off, and at the same time you had new states like Georgia were screaming for people, please come here, we'll welcome you here, you can have land, you can do this and you can do that. So a lot of Scots, Highlanders, moved down to Georgia, and around about the same time, maybe a few generations later, you had something called the Trail of Tears, where the Cherokee were forcibly moved off their native lands because there was gold found in them. So for economic reasons, you had people who had had similar they had a shared experience. And it's what I found amazing when I was kind of researching these songs is that the chief of the Cherokee at that time was a guy called John Ross, who's I think his great grandfather or his grandfather was a Highlander. So it's those connections between Scotland and the east coast of America, and it all kind of started because I read an article about the Appalachian Trail, how they'd also recently they'd included the West Highlands Range, a Scottish mountain range as well, because going back millions of years, it was all part of the same landmass. So I love that really powerful connection between Scotland and, I suppose, the southern states of America. It was just a cool story.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to do this. We're going to play the track, and when we come back, we will have more with our guest. And thanks for joining us here on KJAGradio.com. Also, International Live is available at 107.5 Leicester each and every Friday, 5 to 6 prime time. And, of course, Leicester is Leicester. It's not like your cousin Lester. It is a land mass. It is a land body, and of course, I am Jiggy Jag, the ugly American, making reference to the fact that it's like your cousin Lester. Here we go, and it's here on International Law.
I'm standing here in Dalton, Georgia, looking back and looking east. I know there's a big wide ocean with the Blue Ridge Mountains between. My family roots run back to Scotland, poor and hungry and looking west. They sailed across the sea to Portland and drifted south on another quest. Red mud of Georgia's in my veins, blood of the red man runs there too. Reservations, relocations, the lies of the red, white, and blue. The Crofter and the Cherokee pushed down, forced out on their knees. The clearances and the trail of tears, the Crofter and the Cherokee. Burns said a man's a man for all that. This state at ideals just the same. To treat all men fair and equal. Ah, that I hope someday we will again. Seems a man who suffered to extreme ends all too soon forgets his pain. He'll justify profits by all means and keep a slave for his own gain. The crofter and the Cherokee pushed down, forced out on their knees. The clearances and the trail of tears. The crofter and the Cherokee. The Appalachian Trail is waiting from Georgia up the coast to Maine. 2,000 miles of wild walking to retrace my steps home again. To retrace my steps home again.
That is a hell of a track. That is the Crofter and Cherokee. And we go back to Danny D.
I mean,
There's Danny.
I've got
and there's Malcolm. Hey.
Hey.
I always love these when I come back to these guys having their conversations. That ought to be an entire show. What do they talk about while we play the music?
We were talking about you, man.
Well, oh, believe me, Danny can tell you some stories about me and all of our friends from the United States that are dancing on TikTok. So, all of this is primarily done just to pop Danny and make him laugh. So Malcolm, you have got a pretty amazing story. You've got some amazing music. With the music industry, if you could replace one person, if you could just pluck them out of the music industry and replace them with you, who would it be?
Oh, wow. I think that's a ridiculously good question. You know what? I think I'm going to get a bit greedy here. I'm going to say Bruce Springsteen.
Born to run, baby.
It's I love the fact that he's a guy he's very comfortable with himself. He's comfortable with his age. He just makes, and as he's getting older, as far as I'm concerned, he's making great music. And he's and at the same time he's just got that he's got a nice big sort of cushion of money that you can sit on. So you know what?
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That was a good question.
Who do you work with, Malcolm, on your music? Because the sound sounds great, the production all sounds, really sort of top quality. Is it just yourself in the studio, or have you got a team of people you work with?
I work with one guy called Phil Deering. I do all my, I do my recordings at home. Especially recently, they've all been at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people I normally have access to much better fiddlers and much better banjo players, but I've had to do it all myself on recently. So and I work with a guy. Phil's just a great musician. He's a brilliant producer, and so he just puts that sparkle on everything, and just makes it sound, like it was recorded in a $1 million studio rather than my bedroom. So He's a
Well, you know, you've got to surround yourself with good people. I think that's
yes,
great.
and that's absolutely true. I think I don't think you can kind of do everything on your own. So yeah, as much as I try to.
Okay. Who would you most like to collaborate with if we took Bruce Springfield out of the equation?
Bruce is out of it. Oh man. Okay, right. Okay, so
Yeah.
I think collaboration. Let me see. Oh, okay, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is an obvious one as far as country music goes, but a guy called Chris Stapleton.
Chris
Uh,
Stapleton, yes, I've heard that name.
I would have. I think. I love to collaborate. I think he could take songs that I write. His voice is so amazing. He could take things further than I could probably sort of do them on my own. And the other thing is, I suppose, he's the golden boy of country right now. So a bit of that gold could rub off of me. So yeah, you know what, that would be a good collaboration. Yeah, I mean, maybe not so great from his point of view, but definitely good.
Hey, I don't know. Now you've got both of these. Both of these tracks came out around, was it April time? Did I see that right?
I did. April was for my Hearts and Horizons EP, which is raining down in Nashville, and then I did. I wanted to release the Crofton and Cherokee was on an EP called Scale. It's an old Scots word that means to scatter and disperse. But I actually really wanted to release that on July the 4th, on Independence Day for America, because I really wanted that birth of a nation, sort of idea, and that Scottish connection, with America to come through. So yeah, July the 4th was one, and then April the 4th before that.
Awesome.
And sorry, I assume they're available, are they, on the sort of the usual streaming sites and places?
Yes, they're available everywhere. Or I mean, I'm still
So
one of the.
if people search for Malcolm MacWatt, then they'll find them.
They'll find me, and they'll they can get all my links from my own actual website, which is 3Ws malcolmmacwatt.com. So
Malcolm
yeah,
MacWatt.
but I'm
That's
kind of
awesome.
linked to everything, sort of through that.
Well, you have got another track here that I want to get in. Raining Down in Nashville. Tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, so I heard, I think even in the UK, we tend to know what's going on with American country. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there only is American country, really. It's
Don't let
country...
that get to the royal family. You will be disinvited from the castle.
He's in London. He is in London.
But I mean, country music, it's such an iconic American, genre, and so even across the Atlantic, we know what happens on the country music scene. And at the end of last year, there was a country singer called Kylie Ray Harris from Texas, and she got killed in a car crash on her way to a gig, and it was and she was a real up and coming singer, and it as a musician myself, I'm traveling a lot. I know what it's like to travel tired and in all kind of weather, and you maybe just finished a gig and you're wanting to get home, and it just really struck home that this young girl that just her career, everything bang over, and Nashville being the spiritual home of country music. I just wanted to write something that sort of gave the idea that Nashville itself was also mourning this girl's loss. So hence it's raining in Nashville. I mean, maybe it rains in Nashville a lot. I don't know, but I wanted this idea that the city was crying, for her. So yeah, that's where the song came from. It's done really well for me in terms of everywhere. People seem to have responded to it. It's not the song that I'd chosen to push on Spotify as being the single from the EP, but it's the one that everyone's listened to. So
fantastic. Well, we are going to get to that track, and before we let you go, my friend, and we go to this song, how do people find you on social media and buy your music and do all that and give them some of your hard-earned money, as they say?
Well, I'm pretty, I think I'm pretty lucky, and there's, I've had a look around. There are very few Malcolm MacWatts out there, So
that's great.
I think there's a cyclist called Malcolm MacWatt. So I think if you're looking at Malcolm MacWatt music, you'll end up hitting me. There's no way that you can avoid me.
Well, the next time we have you on, we'll try to get him on as well, and we'll have a Malcolm to Malcolm segment here. So. Well, I appreciate it. I know that Danny appreciates it, and we are going to go to Raining Down in Nashville. And thanks for being on in the clutch, my friend. Thanks for saving us here today.
Oh, thank you. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you two, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. We're going to go to Raining Down in Nashville. It is International Live. When we come back, we're going to be chatting with the legend himself, Mr. Israel, coming up.
I got a telephone call, the kind you never want to get. By the time I put the phone down, my face and shirt were wet. I was in the car, and I had to pull right over. And yes, I cried, tears in my eyes, on the hard shoulder. A cop, well, he pulled in behind and walked up to the window. He tapped on the glass and said, "You can't stop here, you gotta go." I told him what had happened, said that he was sorry to hear. But you gotta move on, you gotta move on, you can't stop here. You gotta move on, you're gone. Now the neon's lost their sparkle, and Broadway ain't so bright. You gotta move on, you're gone. And I know it's gonna rain in Nashville tonight. Rain in Nashville. Raining down Nashville. I don't know how I got home, driving in a daze. I don't know how I got through, all arrangements had been made. Now the cemetery gates are closing, but I can't leave. The preacher said, "Go home, you gotta go home, let them rest in peace." You gotta move on, you're gone. It's gonna rain in Nashville tonight.
That is fantastic. That is